Gambia's leading online platform. My name is Fatou Baldeh, as you already know. Today, I have a very important guest in the studio who is no other person but Fatou Baldeh. Fatou Baldeh is a household name in the country. She is a women's rights advocate, and I am so many of you already know her and then have been monitoring what she has been doing. Fatou, it's a pleasure to have you here at the Fatou Network.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to join you today, so I really appreciate being here.
It's a pleasure. We will begin with the acknowledgements you've received. You've seen that recently you've been named among one of the 100 most influential people of 2025. Tell us, what does this recognition mean for you and your work? Because to be named among the 100 most influential is not something that just happened overnight.
Yeah, thank you again. Of course, the recognition, it's very humbling. I very much appreciate because it's a very significant milestone in my work, but also in my capacity as a women's rights advocate. And I also, as I've repeatedly mentioned, this recognition is not just about myself. It's a representation of the fight, the resilience, and the tenacity of Gambian women. The recognition I have received is based on work that I did collectively with other individuals. So I am really pleased with it and really honored and very much appreciative.
I mean, among the most influential people, global leaders, I can say, who personally acknowledge what you do is former US President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
What does this recognition mean to you as well, having such an individual to the level of US President, former, congratulating you on your activism? What does this mean to you?
I think among all the recognitions that I have received and all the acknowledgement, having President Obama and First Lady Michelle publicly acknowledge my work would remain one of the most humbling and exciting moments for me. But most importantly, it's that recognition puts Gambia in the global platform, but it also puts the attention on the work that I do. I am known for doing work and advocating against the practice of female genital mutilation. President Obama talked about me as a global leader fighting against female genital mutilation and also empowering women and girls in the Gambia. I think that also echoes the need and the global attention on the issue of female genital mutilation, which is very significant, which also contributes in our fight and achieving our goal of ending FGM globally.
I mean, you coming from perhaps the smallest country in West Africa, and then finding yourself in the US, where you have hundreds of millions of people. I mean, how does your family receive this news that former US President has acknowledged Fatou Baldeh from the Gambia for her work?
Yeah.
How was the excitement within the family?
And I think for me, that was the most exciting moment for me as well. Not just my family, but Gambians both here and the diaspora celebrated the fact that their daughter, their sister was being celebrated, because you will agree with me, we all admire the Obamas. For me, President Obama and Michelle Obama are my role models, both in my academic and professional journey, as well as I look up to Michelle as a woman, as a mother, a professional woman, as a wife. She ticks all the boxes, that everything that I desire, that I want to be. So having her acknowledge me was really, really significant for me, both at a personal level, but also through my my journey as a women's rights advocate.
I mean, you are someone who has received so many awards. I remember last year when we were at the airport to welcome you back after receiving the International Women of Courage Award, among many other awards. Can you share with us, among the awards that you gathered so far, which one is so special to you and why?
No, thank you. I think all of these individual awards are special to me because what I've always said is that by recognizing me, we are creating role models, we are creating examples, but also we are showing young Gambian women they can dream and they can achieve things. So for me, I appreciate every single one of those recognitions. Every one of them symbolizes something. And as I always say, every time I am recognized globally or nationally, it's putting an emphasis on the work that I do, particularly fighting female genital mutilation in the country, but also contributing to the global effort to accelerate the fight to end FGM globally. So I appreciate all the different recognitions because I do believe, one, it sets example for girls, but also amplifies my work.
I mean, if you are given the chance to sleep in one house,
yes,
and out of all these awards, you are going to enter with only one. Which one is it gonna be? The most special one? I'm sure they're all special, but if you have the chance to carry only one with you,
I think that will be very difficult for me to choose. They are all very dear to my heart. They all come from places that I have full respect and admiration for. So that one I will struggle, and I may fight to sleep at each of those places. So
what if you had to close your eyes and choose one?
You are insisting, yeah? But I think I will still stick to my response. As I said, I believe that each of them carries a lot of weight. Each of them recognizes my work, and I appreciate that, and I do not underestimate any of them.
I mean, you are the founder of Women in Liberation and Leadership. Yeah. That is real. Take us through what inspired you to create this organization and what has been the biggest achievement so far you've registered with this organization.
Thank you. So I lived in the UK for many years, and I studied there, where I earned both my undergraduate bachelor's degree in health and psychology, and I also achieved my master's degree in the UK as well. In addition to that, I spent years working within the NGO space in the UK. I did work with women, but mostly women from migrant communities, Africans in particular. And I also worked closely with universities to conduct research on issues that affect migrant women, and this was one of the contributing factors for me being recognized and as a member of the British Empire. That was where it's based on the work that I did. In 2018, I returned home, and this was an exciting moment as we have moved on from 22 years of authoritarian rule. Many Gambians with skills and expertise wanted to come home and contribute in rebuilding this country. So when I came home, I knew where my strengths were, both professionally and academically. I used that to start Women in Liberation and Leadership, which is a women-led organization. Our work is very much centered around the grassroots. We work with communities to fight sexual and gender-based violence, but we also have been working under the Transitional Justice umbrella, where we worked closely with the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission when it was ongoing to support women to have access to the TRRC so they could testify those and share their experiences. So that has been my journey, but also for me as a survivor, as a Gambian woman, I wanted to use my voice and my experience to narrate the story of what many other Gambian women have been through, and to use that as a platform to advocate and raise awareness on the serious and difficult issues that affect Gambian women and girls. So for me, one of my proudest achievements, particularly with Will, it's knowing that so many other young women have gone through Will, where they've developed skills to move on to other places. We continue to work with communities, we continue to empower young women so that they realize their full potential and contribute to the national development of the country.
I mean, you being a woman, a mother and a sister,
yes,
and also standing against societal norms which are believed to be very harmful.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are numerous challenges that you will encounter from family and also from the society. Can you share with us some of the most challenging moments that you encountered in your activism journey, and then how do you manage to overcome them and put a smile on your face once again?
Yeah, thank you. So I I have been very lucky. My family have been supportive of the work I do, so that is an added bonus for me. However, the work I do and many other organizations in the country are challenging social norms that are deeply rooted, and we do not expect that the work we do it's easy, or that society is just gonna embrace everything that we advocate against. So yes, we do get a lot of negative feedback or accusations regarding the work that we do. I will not come back on this video to look at the comments that are going to come, of course, which I am familiar with, but I appreciate that it's all part of the process. What is important, we are forcing a conversation. We are having conversations. You are inviting me here today. I am talking about my work. I am talking about very sensitive issues like female genital mutilation. I think that's very progressive, the fact that we are able to do that today. So for me, as much as I know that it's challenging working or challenging deeply rooted practices, I appreciate the fact that we as a society are having those conversations, and that is a good start.
I mean, you have been very, very vocal when it comes to the fight against female genital mutilation. We've seen last year all the activists were very, very busy, no time to waste when a bill was in the parliament, I mean, seeking to repeal the ban, the 2015 Women's Amendment Act. So what strategies do you put in place which have been the most effective in changing mindsets and also policies in terms of the enforcing the ban on female genital mutilation as an activist?
Yeah, thank you. I think for one of the most effective things that we did as civil society organizations during the period where the bill was under threat was collaborating, working together, finding our strengths. We each have a strength. When we came together and collaborated, we were able to defeat. And you will all agree with me, this was a big battle. When we started when the issue of the bill came up, most people didn't even think that we could maintain that ban. But because of our resilience and our continuous commitment, and I'll tell you one thing, that bill was fought by Gambian women. It was Gambian women who came out and challenged what was put forward as something that was going to threaten the livelihood of Gambian women and girls. For us, we knew the threat that was in front of us. This wasn't just about FGM. As far as I'm concerned, if that bill was repealed, we know that these same people would have come against other progressive laws that are put in place to protect women and girls. So we had to come together and collaborate and continue working. And I'm sure you are aware that the case has now moved to the Supreme Court, where the constitutionality of the ban is being challenged. And we hope that the Gambia, as we are being celebrated as a very progressive country that is rebuilding human rights and rule of law, we won't be going back to the era of taking away laws that are supposed to protect women and girls. I do have confidence in our judiciary system. I do have confidence that the Supreme Court will do the right thing by Gambian women and girls, but also through being guarded by international law and women's rights, and the fact that FGM has been established globally that it harms women and girls. And Gambia as a country, we've signed several treaties that recognizes FGM as a harm, as a violence against women and girls. And I do have confidence, as I said, that our system will ensure that we do maintain that, and that we do not go, on one hand we are talking about human rights and democracy, and on the other hand we try to take away a law that is supposed to protect women and girls' rights.
I mean, for ages we've been talking about violence against women and girls. In the Gambia, we've seen domestic violence is sometimes, one can say, based on reports, is on the rise, because every time you hear in the media, sometimes in the families, that a woman is being abused by the very people who are supposed to protect this woman. Recently, we've seen the case involving one Fatou Baldeh who was allegedly beaten by the husband with a hammer. And I saw activists like you comment on that. What is your take?
I think as a country, domestic violence is something that has been so normalized. even women themselves, ourselves, would try to justify domestic violence. But that's because we are in a society where violence against women have become so normalized that I think the most recent multiple indicator cluster survey, the mix, indicated that women themselves would tell you that if I leave the home without taking permission from my husband, he has a right to beat me. Or that if I cooked and I burnt the rice, my husband has a right to beat me. Gambians are still thinking in that mentality. It shows how our society condones violence against women, and it shows the need for us to really amplify our fight, not just around FGM or child marriage. We need to address gender-based violence in its totality, all the different forms, because at the end of the day, we do not expect our country to grow if we continue subjecting women and girls to such violence. So I do hope that the same reaction that we see people, the way that people get angered by other injustice that is happening in our society, that they invest that same energy on gender-based violence, because we all have mothers, we all have sisters, and we would not appreciate that happening to ours. But also it's important for men to recognize that when you are abusing your wife, what are you teaching your daughters? What are you teaching your sons? It is important you recognize the actions you are doing. How do they implicate the next generation? And I think we need to have these conversations, not just on TV, but also within our own homes, where that we consider domestic violence as a family issue. It is not a family issue. We all know the implications of domestic violence. So it is an issue that we really need to address. And of course, I really appreciate that you brought this up, because over the past few weeks, we've seen on the media the number of cases. But often what happens that these perpetrators of such crimes are not held accountable. But also, if that happens, what are we teaching men? We are saying it's okay for you to abuse women. I do acknowledge that some men are also victims of domestic violence, but the reality is women are disproportionately affected by these crimes, and we need to see it as a national issue.
As an activist, how do you feel personally when you go to bed, the next morning you wake up and scrolling on social media, you come across images, disturbing images of women and girls being traumatized and violated severely, and especially bodily harm, where their bodies have been severely affected? How do you feel at personal level?
It's very heartbreaking, and for me, it's not just on the media. I run an organization where we get cases. I can tell you what we see reported on social media is just the tip of the iceberg compared to cases that we receive. Sexual violence is rampant in Gambian society, but also child abuse. You will find we've all heard of incidents where children are being abused sexually as well. So this would be everybody's concern, because at the rate that we are, nobody is safe. And as a society, we need to start confronting those issues. Why is it that we have a society that condones violence to this extreme level, and we do not seem that much concerned or looking for solutions to make sure that we protect our most vulnerable, that is women and children? So it is always heartbreaking, and really I know that it's not just me. A lot of people, we communicate, we speak. When we have cases, different civil society organizations, we can come together and refer to different places. But there are so many challenges that continue. And again, it's these conversations that we need to have so that we can raise more awareness about the different societal issues that continue to affect women and girls.
I mean, recently you were in Denver, Colorado to attend the trial of Michael Sankoria, who's been found guilty of all the counts that he was tried on. Tell us your role at the proceeding and how important is that trial to the victims of human rights violations in the country and beyond.
Yeah, thank you. I think a lot of people know my work on FGM, but I have, as I said earlier, I also work on transitional justice, and my role and also our organization has been trying to find a way that victims, particularly of sexual and gender-based violence, are also included in the process in a way that is sensitive but also respecting, as well as acknowledging some of the challenges that women particularly would face, or other even male victims of sexual violence would face to speak. So we all had from the TRRC testimonies. We knew that the junglers committed different crimes, including sexual and gender-based violence. We knew sexualized torture happened. We knew women were raped in different state institutions. So for me, seeing the Michael Correa being prosecuted, it's a significant milestone for us as a country that is looking at holding perpetrators of the authoritarian regime accountable for the crimes they committed. The fact that a country as powerful as the US has taken that bold step to prosecute Michael Correa under universal jurisdictions, it's very significant for us as a country, and I do hope that this also encourages our government, our state, to amplify their efforts in ensuring that the other junglers that keep roaming about freely, the other named people who have been accused by, through the Truth Commission of committing crimes, are held accountable, and that victims are given the justice that they deserve.
So how they felt the day that Michael Sankoria was found guilty?
Yeah, it was an emotional journey for me. Not even the day that he was found guilty. Throughout the whole process, sitting in court, hearing victims relieving the trauma, the torture that they went through was it reminded me, because I feel like sometimes when I hear some Gambians talk about wanting Jammeh back in this country, that we have forgotten so easily about the atrocities that happened in this country. So sitting there hearing these victims relieved what happened to them was quite emotional for all of us. But of course, on having a verdict, hearing that he's been found guilty of those crimes was very empowering for some of those victims. For me, seeing those victims, one of the victims said to me, I never thought that this day would happen. It's giving them that closure, So it was a very powerful moment that we hope we would also see in this country, where some victims who may not be directly affected by him would see their perpetrators being held accountable.
I mean, you sitting here being very active today, I'm sure a day will come when you will pass the baton of activism to the younger generation. What will be your advice to the young girl, the young boy who is sitting outside watching this interview, who also want to take the similar steps that you are taking to advocate on issues that affect women and girls, and also generally on human rights issues? What will be your advice to the individual?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, my advice is that, when you go into this work, most of us didn't set out to be activists. You as you go on, you learn about something that you feel is unjust, and you start challenging it. But if you believe in what you want to advocate against, I think we all have our voices, we all have our strengths. And I think within the Gambian society now, we've seen so many, there's so many Fatus. There's so many of us out there who are doing incredible work. So we are creating role models for this young generation. We're seeing that they can look at us and say, okay, if Fatou is doing this, I can do that. So we need more people. I do not wish to be in this space for another few years. I would like to take a step back. But I'm already seeing that. I'm seeing the capability of the young Gambians, both male and female. We just need to create a more conducive environment where these people are allowed to grow and they are allowed to challenge certain social norms that they know is unjust. So if I can do it, any of you can do it.
If you have the chance to change one thing in the Gambia today, what would it be?
Wow, that's a difficult one, because I want to change a lot of things. Because, if you look at our society, let's take FGM for example. Of course, I want to see FGM ended, because I believe if we can end FGM, we can end a lot of other issues that continue to affect women. FGM is linked to other issues. So, for example, when we go into communities, parents will talk to us about high rates of teenage pregnancies. And for some parents, they believe that FGM is the way that they can reduce teenage pregnancies, that girls will be sexually active at an early age. But we all come from Gambian societies. We all come from homes, and we have seen how teenage pregnancy continues to ravage our society, how many young girls are dropping out of school. But we know that FGM is not the solution for teenage pregnancy. I want to end FGM. I want to support girls to be able to not fall victims of teenage pregnancies, because we know that when girls fall a victim of teenage pregnancy, their chances of going back to school, even if that environment is there, is difficult because of stigma, who's going to look after their kid and all that. So a lot of issues are interrelated. If we want to end a lot of these injustices that affect women and girls, we need to create those platforms where girls are able to learn about themselves, about their bodies, about how to feel safe. We need to protect our girls. That way they will grow up realizing their full potentials, but also contributing to the development of the country.
I mean, I don't intend to keep you much longer here. If you have anything you wish to share with us, the ball is in your court.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I would encourage you to create more platforms, to invite more women to come and speak about the work that they do. I believe that young women are contributing significantly in this country. I may be in the civil society space, but there are other women who are running successful businesses, others in the media. Let's create more platforms where women feel comfortable to come and speak and share, so that others can look at us and learn from us. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And to our viewers out there, you've heard all the beautiful stories and also the challenges that have been highlighted here. From the rest of my team at the Fatou Network, we say thank you, stay tuned, and enjoy the rest of our programs.